The Tonight Show studio always runs cold. Something about the lights generating too much heat, so they overcompensate with air conditioning. Makes everyone uncomfortable, keeps them alert. Good for television, bad for waiting. Bruce Lee sits in the green room, watching Johnny Carson do his opening monologue on a small black and white monitor. Carson's making jokes about Vietnam, about hippies, about California politics. The studio audience laughs on cue. Trained seals. Bruce is scheduled as the second guest. February 1970. It took his agent 8 months to get this booking. 8 months of phone calls, of pitching, of convincing Carson's producers that Bruce Lee is more than just a supporting actor from a canceled TV show, that he's interesting, that he'll be good television, that America wants to see him. On the monitor, Carson wraps up his monologue. The band plays. Doc Severinsen conducts with theatrical flair. Then Carson turns to introduce his first guest. The big get. The reason people are watching tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest needs absolutely no introduction. He is the heavyweight champion of the world, 3-time winner, the Louisville Lip, the greatest, Muhammad Ali. The curtain parts dramatically. Ali walks through wearing an expensive suit that fits like it was painted on. The audience doesn't just applaud, they erupt. Standing ovation, screaming, whistling. This is 1970, and Muhammad Ali is the most famous athlete on the planet. Maybe the most famous person. Bigger than presidents. Bigger than movie stars. Ali is a phenomenon. He strides to Carson's desk, moving like he owns not just the stage, but the entire building. Shakes Carson's hand with theatrical enthusiasm, sits in the guest chair, immediately starts performing because that's what Ali does. He's not just a boxer. He's an entertainer, a personality, a force of nature. For 20 minutes, Ali dominates, tells stories about his training camp, about his upcoming fight, does his famous shuffle for the audience, makes predictions, says outrageous things. Carson laughs genuinely. The audience is eating it up. This is peak Muhammad Ali. Confident, funny, magnetic, impossible to look away from. Bruce watches from backstage. He's never met Ali in person. Seen him on television, obviously. Everyone has. But never face to face. Part of him is genuinely excited. The other part is calculating. Ali has a way of taking over any room he enters, dominating conversations, making everyone else smaller by comparison. A young production assistant appears at the green room door, headset around her neck, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Lee, you're up next, right after this commercial break." "Thank you." "You'll enter through the curtain when Ed announces you. Walk to Johnny's desk, shake his hand, then take the seat next to Mr. Ali. Got it?" "Got it." She leaves. Bruce stands, straightens his shirt. He's wearing simple clothes, dark slacks, button-up shirt. Nothing flashy. That's not his style. The commercial break happens. 3 minutes. Bruce waits behind the curtain, listening to Carson and Ali chat during the break. Something about golf. Both men laughing. The stage manager counts down silently with his fingers. 5, 4, 3, 2 points. They're live. Carson pivots to camera with practiced ease. "My next guest is a martial arts expert and actor. You might remember him as Kato on The Green Hornet. He has a new film project in development. Please welcome Bruce Lee." The band plays, not as enthusiastically as for Ali, but professional. The curtain parts. Bruce walks through. The applause is polite, respectful, but nothing like what Ali received. Bruce is known in certain circles, martial arts people, TV fans, But to mainstream America in 1970, he's just that Chinese guy who did kung fu on that show that got canceled. That will change. But not yet. Bruce approaches Carson's desk. Carson stands, extends his hand with his professional smile. Bruce shakes it. Firm handshake, eye contact, professional courtesy. "Good to have you here, Bruce. Have a seat." Carson gestures toward the guest area. Two chairs arranged at an angle. Ali occupies the first chair, closer to Carson's desk. The power position. Bruce will sit in the second chair, the subordinate position. As Bruce turns toward the chairs, he extends his hand toward Ali. It's automatic. Natural. What you do when meeting someone. Basic human courtesy that transcends culture, status, profession. Ali looks at Bruce's extended hand. Doesn't move. Doesn't reach out. Just sits there with his arms folded across his chest, looking at Bruce. Through Bruce. Past Bruce. His face registers something between amusement and contempt. The audience notices immediately. The energy in the studio shifts perceptibly. People glance at each other, uncomfortable, confused. What's happening? Why isn't Ali shaking his hand? Bruce's hand hangs in the air. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4. Each second stretches into eternity. The cameras capture everything. 20 million people watching at home see it happening. See the rejection, the disrespect. Finally, Bruce lowers his hand. His face remains neutral, but his jaw tightens slightly. A micro-expression of controlled anger. Carson sees it, tries to recover quickly. "Well, Bruce, please sit down. Tell us about your new project." Bruce sits in the second chair, composes himself, professional. But everyone in that studio felt what just happened. Muhammad Ali just publicly refused to shake Bruce Lee's hand on national television in front of 20 million viewers. Carson launches into his prepared questions. Asks Bruce about his new film, about martial arts, about how fight scenes are choreographed. Bruce answers clearly, professionally, but there's tension radiating from him. And Ali, sitting right next to him, keeps making faces, rolling his eyes when Bruce talks about martial arts being practical, smirking when Bruce explains Wing Chun principles. After several minutes of this, Carson can't ignore it anymore. The tension is too obvious, too theatrical. This is compelling television, but uncomfortable television. "Muhammad," Carson says carefully, "you seem to have some strong opinions about what Bruce is saying." Ali leans forward, that familiar Ali energy, that performer instinct. "Johnny, I got opinions about everything. You know that. Care to share with the audience? You want me to be honest?" "Always." Ali turns to look directly at Bruce. Direct eye contact. Challenging. "Look, I respect what Bruce does. I really do. But let's be clear about something. What he does isn't fighting. It's performing. It's choreography. It looks impressive on camera, but it's not real combat." The audience murmurs. This is confrontation. Drama. Exactly what talk shows pray for, but rarely get this raw. Bruce doesn't react immediately, just looks at Ali. Calm. Waiting. Listening. Carson senses the moment. "Bruce, would you like to respond?" "Yes." Bruce's voice is quiet but steady. "What I teach is different from boxing. That's absolutely true. Boxing is a sport, a very effective sport. But it has rules. Weight classes, rounds, referees. What I teach is for self-defense, for survival situations where there are no rules. Different purposes require different methods." Ali laughs. That big, theatrical Ali laugh. "Survival? Man, I've been in the ring with killers. Real killers. Sonny Liston, Joe Frazier, men who hit so hard you see your ancestors. That's survival, not breaking boards for cameras. I never claimed breaking boards was fighting, Bruce says evenly. That's demonstration, showing focus and power generation. But it's not the technique itself. Then what is the technique? Efficiency, using the opponent's energy against them, ending confrontations quickly without unnecessary damage. Ali shakes his head. That movie stuff doesn't work against real fighters. Bruce is silent for a moment. Then he speaks, his voice still calm, but with an edge now. Can I ask you something? Go ahead, little man. The condescension is clear, intentional. Why didn't you shake my hand? The studio goes completely silent. Dead silent. This is the question everyone's been thinking, but nobody expected Bruce to actually ask. On camera, live, in front of millions. Ali's smile fades slightly. What? When I walked over here, I extended my hand to you. Basic courtesy. You refused. Wait. Carson shifts uncomfortably in his seat. This wasn't in the pre-interview. This is real, unpredictable, potentially explosive television. Ali recovers quickly, goes back to performing. I shake hands with fighters, with champions, with people who've proven themselves in real combat, not with movie actors who pretend to fight. The audience gasps, some nervous laughter. This is brutal. Ali just called Bruce a pretender on national television. Bruce nods slowly, processing. Then he does something unexpected. He smiles. Small smile, almost sad. You know what that tells me? Bruce asks. What's that? That you're afraid. The studio freezes, completely freezes. Nobody moves. Nobody breathes. Did Bruce Lee just call Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight champion of the world, afraid? Ali's face changes. The performance cracks, real anger underneath. What did you say? I said you're afraid. Not of me, physically, of what I represent. I'm not afraid of anything or anyone. Then why refuse a simple handshake? Why go out of your way to disrespect me? Why spend your entire segment talking about how what I do isn't real? That's not confidence, that's fear. Carson leans back, lets it play out. This is incredible television. Ali's voice rises. You think I'm afraid of kung fu? Of movie fighting? No, I think you're afraid of the possibility that fighting is bigger than boxing. That your definition might be incomplete. That there might be effective combat methods you haven't mastered. And if you haven't mastered everything, maybe you're not the greatest fighter. Maybe you're just the greatest boxer. The silence stretches. 5 seconds. 10. The camera holds on Ali's face. Watching his reaction. Watching him process being challenged like this. I'm the heavyweight champion of the world, Ali finally says, his voice lower now. I've beaten every man who stepped into the ring with me. Then shake my hand. What? Stand up. Walk over here. Shake my hand like one human being greeting another. Prove this isn't about ego and insecurity. Ali stares at him. The challenge is clear, public. Refuse, and he looks weak. Accept, and he admits Bruce was right. Carson tries to intervene. Gentlemen, perhaps we should— No, Ali interrupts. This little man wants to challenge me on my segment. I'm not challenging you to fight, Bruce says. I'm asking for basic human decency, the same courtesy you'd show anyone else. Why is that difficult? Because you haven't earned it. Earned it how? By winning titles? By beating people for money? Is that your only measure of worth? It's the measure that matters in fighting. No, that's the measure you understand. There are others. Teaching, helping students defend themselves, improving lives. That matters too. Maybe more than titles. Ali stands abruptly, tall, imposing, walks over to where Bruce is sitting, towers over him. The camera captures the size difference perfectly. Ali is 6'3", Bruce is 5'7". Ali probably outweighs Bruce by 80 pounds. You want me to shake your hand? Ali extends his hand, but the gesture is aggressive, mocking. Bruce stands, looks at the hand, then at Ali's face, then does something nobody expects. He doesn't take the hand. Not like that, Bruce says. What? Not as a power play, not as a dominance game, not with that energy. If you're going to shake my hand, do it with respect. Like you respect what I do, even if you disagree. Respect costs nothing. The studio freezes again. Everyone watching, waiting. This moment will be analyzed for decades. Ali's hand is still extended, but something in his expression changes. The anger fades. The performance cracks further. What's left is something else. Maybe confusion, maybe recognition. He lowers his hand, steps back, looks at Bruce differently. You've got nerve, Ali says quietly. Less performance now, more real. Nerve isn't the word. This is about principle. Standing up to me like this on live television, you know I could destroy you in a boxing ring. Absolutely. But this isn't a ring. This is a conversation. And in conversations, size doesn't matter. Truth matters. Truth. You refuse to shake my hand because you see me as lesser, as not a real fighter, as someone who doesn't deserve basic courtesy. That's not strength. That's insecurity. And pointing it out isn't nerve. It's honesty. Ali is quiet for a long moment. The cameras still rolling. Carson frozen at his desk. The audience completely silent. 20 million people watching at home. Then Ali does something unexpected. He extends his hand again, different this time. No aggression, no mocking, just an offering. You're right, Ali says. I was being disrespectful. I apologize. Bruce looks at the hand, then takes it. They shake properly, with respect. The audience erupts. Applause, cheering, relief. The tension shatters. What could have been disaster becomes something else. Something real. Something human. They sit back down. Carson is grinning. This is the best television he's done in months. Well, Carson says, that was intense. That was necessary, Bruce says. Respect shouldn't be conditional. Shouldn't require violence to earn. It should be the default. Ali nods. You made your point, and you were right. I was being arrogant. They talk for another 15 minutes. The tension gone now, replaced by genuine conversation. Ali asks Bruce about martial arts principles. Bruce asks Ali about his training regimen. They find common ground. Discipline, dedication, the endless pursuit of improvement. By the end, they're laughing together. The audience watches this transformation happen in real time, from confrontation to connection, from hostility to understanding. This is what makes great television. Not the conflict itself, but the resolution, the growth, the humanity. After the show, backstage, Ali finds Bruce in the corridor. Hey, I'm sorry again for the hand thing. For what I said, that wasn't right. We're good. No, it's not okay. You called me out, and you were right. I was being insecure. Ali extends his hand. Friends? Bruce takes it. Friends? You should visit my training camp. Show me some of that martial arts material. I'm curious now. I'd like that. They shake again. This time it's easy, natural. No performance, no games, just two men connecting over shared passion for their crafts. The footage airs that night. 20 million people watch. The moment spreads, gets talked about, gets analyzed. Bruce Lee stood up to Muhammad Ali, called him afraid on national television, made him apologize. It becomes legendary. The handshake that didn't happen, the confrontation that froze the studio, the apology that followed. People debate it for weeks. Some think Bruce was disrespectful. How dare he challenge Ali like that? Others think he was brave, standing up for himself against the most famous athlete in the world. Both perspectives have merit. That's what makes the moment powerful. Years later, after Bruce dies at 32, reporters ask Ali about that night. Bruce Lee taught me something important, Ali says. He taught me that respect isn't about size or fame or titles. It's about recognizing humanity in everyone. I was being disrespectful, acting superior, and he called me on it in front of millions. That took real courage, not fighting courage, moral courage. Do you regret refusing the handshake? Yeah, I regret it. But I'm glad it happened because of what came after. Bruce and I became friends, trained together, learned from each other. That wouldn't have happened without the confrontation. Sometimes conflict creates connection. The story lives on, gets retold, gets embellished, but the core remains. Muhammad Ali refused to shake Bruce Lee's hand. What Bruce said froze the studio, changed everything. Not with violence, not with competition, but with words, with honesty, with the simple demand for basic human dignity. And Ali, to his credit, listened, apologized, changed. That's greatness, not just boxing ability, but the capacity to hear criticism and grow. The footage still exists, grainy, old, but powerful. You can watch it and see the exact moment the studio freezes. See Ali's face when Bruce calls him afraid. See the handshake that finally happens. See two legends finding respect through confrontation. That's the real story. Not the conflict, but the resolution. Not the insult, but the apology. Not the difference, but the common ground. What started as a humiliation, a public rejection on live television watched by millions, transformed into something meaningful. A lesson about ego, about respect, about the courage to admit when you're wrong. Ali was wrong that night. He knew it even as it was happening. But his pride, his performance, his need to dominate every situation kept him from admitting it. Until Bruce forced the issue, made it impossible to ignore, made it public. And Ali, being Ali, rose to the occasion, admitted his mistake, changed course. That's what separates legends from everyone else. Not the absence of mistakes, but the willingness to acknowledge them and grow. In the weeks that followed, something unexpected happened. The martial arts community, which had always been somewhat divided between traditional Asian styles and Western combat sports, began talking to each other. Bruce's confrontation with Ali opened a dialogue. Karate schools started inviting kung fu instructors to demonstrate. Boxing gyms brought in martial artists to show techniques. The walls between styles started to crack. Not because Bruce defeated Ali in combat. He didn't. But because he defeated him in conversation. Proved that respect and truth matter more than size or fame. Proved that different approaches to fighting could coexist, could even complement each other. Ali kept his word. 3 weeks after the Tonight Show appearance, Bruce visited Ali's training camp in Pennsylvania. They spent 5 hours together, Ali learning about Wing Chun's economy of motion, Bruce learning about Ali's footwork and defensive techniques. By the end of the day, they were friends, real friends, not Hollywood friends, not professional friends. Genuine friends who respected each other's crafts. They stayed in touch, called each other, sent letters. When Bruce's first major film came out, Ali sent him a telegram. "You made it, little brother. Proud of you. Float like butterfly, sting like bee. Love, Muhammad." Bruce kept that telegram until the day he died. February 1970. The Tonight Show. A handshake refused. A confrontation that froze the studio. An apology that changed everything. 2 men, 2 philosophies. 1 moment of truth that resonated across decades. The lesson wasn't about fighting. It was about humanity, about seeing past differences, about demanding respect while giving it, about the courage to confront injustice, even when the person committing it is the most famous athlete in the world. Bruce Lee, 5'7", 140 pounds, stood up to Muhammad Ali and didn't flinch. Not because he thought he could beat him in a fight, but because he knew he was right. And being right, standing for principle, matters more than being big or famous or powerful. That's what froze the studio that night. Not the conflict, the conviction. The unwavering certainty that respect is not negotiable, that human dignity is not conditional, that truth spoken clearly and honestly has power that transcends physical size. Muhammad Ali learned that lesson, acknowledged it publicly, changed because of it, and in doing so proved that he was not just the greatest boxer. He was a great human being, capable of growth, capable of humility, capable of seeing his own faults and correcting them. That's the real story. That's what people remember. Not the handshake that didn't happen, but the one that did. The second one. The real one. The one that mattered. The incident became a case study in communication courses. How to stand up for yourself without aggression. How to call out disrespect without becoming disrespectful yourself. How to maintain dignity under pressure. Bruce's approach was studied, analyzed, taught. He didn't raise his voice, didn't make threats, didn't resort to insults. He simply stated the truth calmly and clearly. Made Ali confront his own behavior. Made it impossible for Ali to continue the charade without looking foolish. That's mastery. Not of martial arts, but of human interaction, of understanding psychology, of knowing that the most powerful weapon isn't a fist. It's truth, clearly spoken, impossible to ignore. That night on The Tonight Show, Bruce Lee proved something more important than any fight could demonstrate. He proved that courage comes in many forms, that standing up for yourself doesn't always mean fighting, that respect is earned not through violence, but through character, through consistency, through the willingness to demand dignity even when outnumbered, outsized, outfamous. 20 million people watched that lesson unfold in real time, and decades later, we're still learning from it.